Well, I'm joined now from Washington, D.C. by Julia Ebner, who's a research fellow specialising in far-right extremism at the Institute for Strategic Dialogue. One of the things we have to understand is how this man was radicalised from father of four to terrorist. What have we learned from this trial in that it happened so quickly?
Yeah. Well, it's quite a common radicalization pathway. I think he illustrated some of the typical signs of would-be terrorists and of terrorists that we've seen on both Islamist extremist side, but also on the far-right extremist side, which is essentially this us against them thinking that he developed within a matter of weeks, really, where a lot of far-right groups tried to exploit some of the very common and sometimes legitimate grievances and fears around terrorist attacks and around grooming scandals. And this is something that, of course, the EDL, the English Defence League, and Britain First and other far-right organizations have really tried to capitalize on. And he carried out, I think, what is the extension of this logic that there is an ongoing or imminent war between Muslims and non-Muslims, a rhetoric that is being supported by these groups.
And there were signs of his attitudes, in his life that were heard about in court, and it raises the question of how people are supposed to spot it. How people in those communities are supposed to spot people who are being radicalised and turning into anti-Muslim terrorists.
Yeah, well, I think it really requires a stronger response, both a more nuanced reporting around terrorist attacks, around all of these really highly sensitive topics. I think we'd need to have, first of all, nuanced reporting, but also more civil society-led campaigns to counter hate coming from any hate, because really fighting hatred and terrorist attacks with more hate and more terror is simply not going to be the best way for the UK or for any country to go ahead. And I think this is something we also try at the ISD by using initiatives like the Online Civil Courage initiative to really counter some of the hate that we can see online and that might manifest itself offline, by empowering civil society to counter that hate online.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's about the process, isn't it, of radicalisation? What I'm talking about is what people are supposed to do. I mean, we often have conversations with Islamist terrorists about what the community was supposed to do, how they were supposed to spot it, how they were supposed to report it. I'm asking the same question about somebody like this man, Darren Osborne, in his community. What should people be looking out for now?
Well, I think
if you start spouting anti-Muslim hatred, should the people around you call the police?
No, I mean, so that's a very difficult balance to strike. But I think there's definitely a need to raise awareness around families and members that might see the signs of radicalization among vulnerable individuals, especially in the aftermath of very traumatizing events such as terrorist attacks, where that is he seemed to be really obsessed with some of the ideas that all Muslims are terrorists, that all Muslims are rapists or pedophiles. I think as soon as these views are being expressed, that is a very clear warning sign that members of his family or of even the friendship circles could be trained to spot in a quicker and better ways. Yeah.
Julia Ebner, thank you very much for joining us.